Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here on Play on GAA, or if you're watching from the live stream link from the GAA Room. My name is Séamus Brady, I'm the host here at Play on GAA. Delighted to be joined by Seán Ryan from the GAA Room. We're going to run through all of the Gaelic football action which is coming up this weekend from the All-Ireland group stages and of course from round 2 of the Táilteann Cup. So Seán, how are we feeling? Obviously we're here now, we're past the provincial stages into the next round, the All-Ireland group stages. What is your initial thoughts? What are you expecting from this new feature of the championship?
Yeah, well, first of all, Séamus, thanks for having me on again. It's been a while, but happy to be back on again. But I'm very excited. I am very excited. I think a lot of people are. A good few people are saying, I've seen on Twitter saying pre-season is over, which might be a bit harsh on the provincial championships. But yeah, can't wait for it. It's going to be really interesting. I think it's there's a lot that can happen, and it's a step in the right direction in terms of where the GAA should be going, I think, as well. So there seems to be a good buzz from everyone, and everyone's looking forward to what's going to happen.
Yeah, big time. And so we're going to go through the games one by one across the rhythm of the weekend. So we're going to start with the games that are on Saturday and then Sunday in terms of the All-Ireland group stages. And then we're going to go group by group with the Táilteann Cup. So the first game that's on the Saturday in Cusack Park in Ennis is Clare versus Donegal. And I think this one is really, really interesting when you're looking at this, because obviously Clare have had a very up and down year. Of course, relegated from Division 2, heading for the Táilteann Cup. Then they pull it back by obviously defeating Cork in the Munster Championship, beat Limerick to make the Munster final, and then they get torn limb from limb. Whereas torn limb from limb by Kerry. And now it's a question of where are their heads at? Where is their momentum at? How do they feel going into this game? Whereas for Donegal, they were one of the best teams in the country last year, right up until that Ulster final. And ever since Derry beat them, the only way has been down. Beaten by Armagh in the qualifiers, and that seemed like a game that Armagh were just destined to win. Then Paddy Carr comes in after Declan Bonner leaves. Paddy Carr doesn't even last half the league campaign, really. He's gone. Donegal finished the league without scoring a goal from play. Their last defeat to Roscommon was one of the worst performances I've seen all year. And, of course, then knocked out by Down in pretty comfortable circumstances. So it's a question of which of these teams is coming into this with a better headspace, would you say?
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think this is actually could be one of the biggest games this weekend. The fact is that one team will not get out of this group, and I think Clare will be looking at this and being like, Jesus, I can give Donegal a right go here. I can. There's no reason why Clare can't be like Donegal. As you said, a bit of a mess at the moment. The manager's going out and in and out. Or Aidan O'Rourke obviously taking them over now, getting knocked out by Down. Down are a good side, but also actually, well, before that, I actually predicted that Down would beat Donegal in one of my watch-alongs, and people were calling me mad, but it did happen, and it wasn't. It was just how Donegal at the moment. One of the maybe positive things in Donegal is that they have a bit of a gap from when they got knocked out and Down. What was it, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago to where they're playing now? Probably maybe 4 weeks ago. So they do have time to recuperate, and it's kind of hard to know where they are. With Clare, you said like they got relegated from Division 2. I thought they were kind of harsh done. They nearly bet Kildare. They lost to Meath. I went to the Meath and Clare game, and Meath ended up getting they won, but Clare I definitely think could have felt hard done by. And did they nearly beat the Dubs, or who did they nearly beat? They gave someone else a good close go, and getting relegated, but then they obviously saved it and beating Cork in the semi-final of the Munster Championship. I think that was massive. Regardless of what happened in Kerry, I know they got hammered by Kerry, but at the same time, Kerry is Kerry. They're the top team. I know they probably want to compete. If that was the aim, was to compete, never mind winning, but if they could at least compete and bring that on into the All-Ireland series. But the fact that it's in Cusack Park, I think, is massive as well. I think that's like Donegal to Clare isn't a short trip, and it's I think I don't know who I'd favour here. It is going to be close, and it well could decide who will not get through in that group, because it's Clare, Donegal. I'm trying to think here at the back.
Monaghan and Derry.
Monaghan and Derry. Yeah,
I don't see
so
either of these two teams beating the other two. That's just
no, yeah,
brutally honest.
yeah. So, but I'm actually, the fact that Donegal's had a 4-week break, I still might go with Clare just because they played a few more games and got that win against Cork. I think that is very big because that's what saved them in the end. If they didn't beat Cork, they'd be in the Táilteann Cup right now, and they're not a bad team at all. And I would be a big. I do recognise that Donegal are Division 1 team will get relegated in Division 2, but down bet them. I can't see why Clare would beat them. Why Clare can't beat them. And they're definitely targeting this game.
Well, it's like one of those things that, like, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, Donegal could be in real trouble here. Like, part of it with Donegal is, and I was the same as you, I predicted Down to win. And it wasn't necessarily that I thought Down can beat Donegal. Is in my head, I'm thinking Donegal can lose to anybody right now. They're absolutely imploding from within. They're not anywhere near the players that they used to be. It's that type of thing that, again, I think if both these teams play to 100% of their ability, I still think Donegal have better players. But I think Donegal are playing nowhere near the level that they have in the past. Like, Clare have fantastic forwards. Don't get me wrong. Emmett McMahon, Owen Cleary, Keelan Sexton. These guys can absolutely destroy you if you're not at 100%. And that's why I think they're going to cause Donegal serious problems. And at the back, look, Donegal haven't scored a goal from open play in the league. And look, they got one very early on against Down, but it was just the manner of which they lost to Down. Like, I predicted Down to beat Donegal, but I expected Down to beat them in like kind of a smash and grab, like a late victory that would kind of pile the misery on. But Down put Donegal away comfortably.
Yeah, like what was it? Was it 6 points? 6 points or so, or
5-point
something?
victory, like
5 points. Yeah. And it really is. It's really hard to know where they are. I know there's issues with the county board and they're underage and so on.
Yeah.
It definitely doesn't help either. And
Jim
it just
McGinnis
seems
comments as well.
Yeah, like there's a lot of things there that just does not seem going well in Donegal's favor. But because it's been 4 weeks from that game, I know. I'm thinking about it here.
For me, man, it's what did they do in those 4 weeks? They must have stayed. If they didn't sit down and think, what the hell is going on here with our team?
Yeah.
Why are we losing games that we would win? Like, on paper, Paddy McBurty, Ryan McHugh, Michael Langan, Jamie Brennan. These guys are quality players. Why are they losing to a team that are in Division 3?
Yeah, like I watched.
They need to sit around and think, what is happening here? If they did that, I think they can win this game. But right now, if they play like they did this year, Clare will beat them comfortably.
Yeah. No, like if you like what you just said about those players, I remember watching the very first game of the league against Kerry and Paddy McBrilty getting that last minute point. Like there was some real. I was like, geez, Donegal are in good shape here. Like they've some young, they've a good few young lads there joining them, and who you mentioned there as well. And they seem on paper like they can do it, but it really is. So if Donegal can get together and perform, it's you're not so much asking yourself, what are Clare going to be like? I think we can expect what Clare are going to be like, but it's all about how Donegal get on and if they will crumble, if this poor season is going to continue that way, and if they lose to Clare, that's probably them gone out of the All-Ireland series after the very first game of the All-Ireland series. Donegal out because unless they had something miraculous against Monaghan or Derry.
Yeah, no, I do think, right, we'll make this decision time because you do have a lot of games to get through. Do you know what? I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go because Clare tend to pull it out of the fire when it's all against them. And you know what? I'm going to go for them to do it again. I'm going to go with Clare with a good atmosphere there in Cusack Park in Ennis. Everybody smelling blood in the water. Because that was one thing that I noticed about the Down game when I watched it. I was like, there's a real sense here that the upset is on. Right from the start of the game, Down had this confidence that they were going to beat Donegal because they believed they could. Clare will believe they can beat Donegal. And I would honestly, if Clare were playing Down, I would back Clare to win. So I'm going with the same principle here. I don't think Donegal have turned it around. I think they're still pretty sure McBurty won't be playing in this game. Their forward line has looked toothless so far throughout the entire championship and league. So I will go with Clare to win. primarily because Donegal aren't playing to 100% of their ability, but Clare will punish you if you are not at 100%. So I'm going to go with Clare to get that victory. What are you thinking?
I'm actually going to agree with you. I think the Cusack Park, if it was up in Donegal, it could be a different story or even a neutral ground. But the fact of coming to Cusack Park, I think that's exactly what you said. There's going to be a lot of fans there. They're going to smell blood. They're going to be ready to be up for it and give themselves, Jesus lads, if we win this, we're into we've a very good chance of getting into the All Ireland prelim, at least, you know. So I 100% agree with you.
Yeah, no, because I think if you look at the other games, Monaghan, Derry, they'll look at this game and say, this is the one. Donegal at home, this is the one we can win.
Yeah.
Or this is the one that we're most likely to win. Derry is going to be such a hard test. Monaghan as well. Monaghan's forwards are lethal. It's going to be really hard to beat the other two teams. Look, they probably could take Monaghan on a given day, but I think Derry is one of the best 3 or 4 teams in the country right now. It's going to be way too hard to beat them. But Donegal at home, that's the one to go for, in my opinion. And I think they're going to do it. Moving on then to an absolute heavyweight clash. Kerry against Mayo in Fitzgerald Stadium. I mean, what a game this is going to be. I mean, like, if you're talking about rivalries over the last 20 years, Kerry and Mayo have served up some epics, and I can't wait for this one.
Yeah, I'm actually raging because I have to go to a wedding, unfortunately, so I'm gonna miss it. I am raging. It's one of my girlfriend's friends, so it's not even anyone I know at the wedding, but I am raging. But this is some way to kick off because it's the first game, because it's going to be shown on GAA Go, so it's the first kind of game that has coverage. So it's the very first game to have coverage in this new All Ireland series, and it's, to me, probably the most juiciest fixture out of any game in the All Ireland series in terms of the groups and so on. I cannot wait. I feel Mayo, I counted there 6 weeks since they lost to Roscommon. They've had a very good start to they obviously had a great league, won the league, and maybe I would probably call it a speed bump against Roscommon. And they kept a good momentum, but then ended up losing to Roscommon. But I feel they are going to be mad for action. They've been sitting at home watching all these teams play in all these different provincial fixtures, and I think they're going to come out all guns blazing straight away off Kerry against Kerry. And I think it's going to be, especially the first 10 or 15 minutes, I don't think it's going to be like a masterclass. I think Mayo are going to go, because they're one of those teams that nearly enjoy the kind of insanity, the craziness of just going for it. So I think this is going to be very good. Kerry also, obviously Kerry, as I said earlier on, they had an okay league. They haven't really been challenged in the Munster Championship, and they probably didn't need to go out into massive gears in terms of like into your top gear. So I feel like Kerry are going to be expecting that as well. That's the other thing. So I think it's going to be, I'm raging. I'm going to be missing this game. Yeah. But I cannot wait. I'll try and keep an eye on the phone if I don't get in too much trouble anyway. Or maybe just go watch in the bathroom in the wedding or something.
Oh, without doubt. And look, the reality is, a lot of people have been saying in the build up to this that like Kerry, Mayo, last year Kerry bet Mayo off the park. Listen, this is a different Mayo team to the one that was in the quarterfinal last year. The one that played Kerry in the quarterfinal last year, James Horan, was coming towards the end of his second tenure with Mayo. He was kind of halfway out the door at that point. I think it was a case of, like, look, his era had come to an end. McStay's come in. New players have come in. He's getting the best out of the likes of James Carr, Ryan O'Donoghue, Aidan O'Shea as well, as having a great year full forward. They're playing actually good passes into him for once, and he's being a distraction, being a diversion, and setting up things for the people. Then they have the likes of Tommy Conroy, Killian O'Connor coming off the bench. Like, they've serious strength and depth, Mayo now. Jack Carney, Jordan Flynn have added some serious power around the middle. Fionn McDonough as well is getting a consistent run of the team. And the midfield pairing of Matthew Oran and Diarmuid O'Connor is really, really, really impressive. At the back as well, hugely impressed with how they've just coped with the losses of Lee Keegan and Oisin Mullen. And then Colin Reap in goal, fantastic goalkeeper. I thought Henley wasn't going to lose his place. So the way McStay has put his own stamp on this Mayo side has been hugely impressive. And yes, look, they lost to Roscommon, but let's not forget, Roscommon have been brilliant this year as well. So losing to Roscommon isn't necessarily, the worst thing in the world. And the fact that they've had 4 weeks to, relax, build up their strength again, I agree with you. I think they're going to go for it. in the first 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah, like I think a lot of people are forgetting about them as well. You think, okay, at the moment you're thinking, okay, Kerry, the Dubs, Derry, Galway, and Armagh maybe as well. But then you're kind of nearly forgetting about Mayo, and exactly what you just said there, the depth and the strength and the way they were playing, and Roscommon for the first half of the league were the top of the table. They were the team to beat. And Davy Burke kind of set up a defensive structure against that game to kind of counteract against Mayo and get them. I know they lost to Galway then after, but like one of the most interesting ones then is Ryan O'Donoghue, how he's going to get on. Tom Sullivan, I was listening to, who was it? I was listening to Off the Ball, and James O'Donoghue reckons that'll be Tom Sullivan on Ryan O'Donoghue, and that'll be one of the matchups, one of the key matchups, if it is that matchup. So I'm really looking forward to. I think this Mayo team is exciting. I think that they are a team. I backed them after a couple of games in the league to win out the All Ireland at 8-1. I think they're a small bit drifted, but I definitely do think that they're capable of doing this. On the other side, Kerry. The real question is about how well Kerry haven't been tested in a long time either. So it's kind of hard to expect to keep that intensity up if you're playing kind of weaker opposition. I know you're beating them handy well enough, but the intensity isn't there. I think Paddy Clifford is a big focal point for that Kerry team, and I think Mayo will also know that. So I think one of the Mayo's game plans are going to be to try to cut out Paddy Clifford, but then I know you got other players obviously to worry about because they're top class. But I think at the moment he is someone who really is the focal point for them.
Who takes him for you? Who will they put on him?
Oh, geez, I don't have a clue. I
think they're going to need to put someone mobile on him. They're going to need to put someone on him who's comfortable going out the field and comfortable being in close to goal. I could see it maybe even a wild card option. I could see it maybe being an Enda Hessian or someone that is comfortable around the middle, but also comfortable in the full back line. Someone who's pacey, someone who's tight, who's quick, who's good going forward. I could see it potentially being him. Maybe even a Paddy Durkin or something. But then, McLaughlin maybe either. But I do think it's going to be someone that has to be comfortable in close to their own goal, but also comfortable around the middle.
Yeah, because that's what Paddy does as well. But I'm just trying to think here. I'm still trying to think in my head who would be that type of person. But Mayo will have to obviously have their defensive structure in place because I know you said they're now missing Keegan and Mullen from last year, and it's going to be massive because there's definitely strength on both sides, both attacks as well for Mayo and Kerry. So it depends if you're just going to crowd out that space and try and stop. But if you're focused on Paddy Clifford, then you might have to worry about David or I know Spillan's doing well if he comes off the bench, or there's numerous amount of players there.
David Clifford has ripped Mayo the last few times he's played them, so it's who marks him as well.
Yeah, and you need someone kind of physically big there as well. And I know Mayo probably, well, in terms of kickouts, maybe haven't been the best in terms of aerial duels. Kerry might target that as well. If Mayo do push up for Kerry's kickouts, if they do go along, they do have those midfield options. That knowing that Mayo haven't been apparently the best at looking at some stats or what people were saying, that could be something also that Kerry could be targeting. But overall, it's going to be hard to know who's going to win. I'd say everyone will probably be backing Kerry, but I definitely could think Mayo could do it against them. The fact that it's in Fitzgerald Stadium probably is definitely a big boost for Kerry, but Mayo are mad fans as well. They'll enjoy. I'd say it'll be some very hard to get tickets for this game, and they'll try and fill out as much as they can as well. But yeah, it's going to be very exciting.
Oh, Mayo could play a game on Mars and all their fans would somehow make it to the game. Like the Mayo support is fantastic. They will be there in their numbers. It's one of those where it's like, it would be such a famous victory if Mayo could pull it off. Like it really would be. And it's a Kerry side, again, as you said, that hasn't been tested. Like the Clare Munster final, a very difficult day for them, but Clare didn't put it up to them in that game. And the way that Clare's marking was in the second half especially was so relaxed that Kerry were able to pretty much do what they wanted in the second half. Mayo won't let them do that. Mayo will give absolutely everything they have in the tank to win this game. it's one of those where, like, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, Mayo could definitely do this. Mayo could definitely win this game. It's
Oh,
like,
100%, yeah.
yeah, it's like, but it just, I can't wash out of my head how much damage David Clifford did to Mayo last time he played them. How easy it was for him, particularly in the league final last year.
Yeah, I know, I know, like, but then if you look at the league, did Mayo beat Kerry in McHale
Without
Park?
David Clifford and Shawnee O'Shea
Yeah,
starting.
okay, that's a good
And the
point. That's a
reality
good
is
point.
that the second David came on, he scored 2 points with his first 2 touches.
Yeah, okay,
Like,
yeah.
who do they have to mark him? Because Pádraig O'Hara hasn't been starting consistently. He would have been their guy that they would have put on him. Like, their fullback line throughout the league was David McBrien was starting. Rory Brickington got a good few games. Jack Coyne as well. And then the Hessian. They tended to be the lads that were in the corners there or fullback. And then out of halfback, they had the likes of Stephen Cohen, Paddy Durkin, Connor Loftus as well at centre back. I wonder, will they persist with that? And Owen McLaughlin. Like, who out of them takes David?
Yeah, you could nearly say that with, like, I'm thinking about this, but you can nearly say this with whoever Kerry come up against, or any team in Ireland. You're thinking to yourself, who's going to be marking David Clifford?
Except for Kerry, you'd go Chrissy McKay gun him for that, but
yeah. But there's not a lot of people who can mark him in Ireland. So I think it does depend on how hot he will be as well, you know. But I don't think I will go against Kerry. The fact that it's in Fitzgerald Stadium, I don't think I will go against Kerry. I probably would prefer to see Mayo win just to make it a bit more exciting. I think I do like Mayo. A lot of people don't like Mayo, but I am a fan of them, and I think they are playing exciting football now as well. And they have a new kind of lease of life. So I do think Kerry, but I will be supporting Mayo as well.
Like, it's such a hard one to call because I'm like, Mayo could do this. This is the type of game where Mayo have just turned up and won over the past.
Do you call a draw?
You know what? The more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm like, maybe.
Yeah.
I'll go Mayo. I'll go Mayo.
You're going Mayo. Okay, yeah, might as well.
Mayo.
Go against me. Yeah, actually, yeah. Why not?
Why not? One of us will be able to clip this up after and put it up and say, "See, I know more than him."
And unless it's a draw, then we're both fecked.
Unless it's a draw, then we both know nothing. But the one thing is, both these teams will be grand. Both these teams are going into the next round because, in my opinion, like Louth and Cork are the other two teams in the group. Yeah. I predict that both of these sides will beat both of those teams and safe passage into the next one. But then these, again, two heavyweights from group number 2, Galway and Tyrone in Pearse Stadium. Now, again, this is a really, really interesting. Obviously, Connacht champions Galway coming up against the Tyrone side that were knocked out by Monaghan in the Ulster Championship. But what was so weird about the Tyrone game was that even though Tyrone lost, I was actually impressed with them. I left after watching that Monaghan-Tyrone game thinking, you know what? I can see what Tyrone are doing. Like, the forward line of Dara Canavan, Darren McCurry, it was working like unbelievably well at times. Monaghan just pulled them back, and I couldn't believe the main thing I took away from the Monaghan game was I couldn't believe that for defenders that are so good, like genuinely so good, your Paddy Hampseys, your Ronan McNamee's, Michael McKernan's, I couldn't believe how open they were at the back against Monaghan. Like, for Ryan O'Toole to get an opening like that, well, Monaghan didn't do, like, watch the goal back. Monaghan did nothing fancy in that goal. They did nothing fancy. They literally just moved the ball side to side, and Ryan O'Toole got a free shot at the goal. Like, how they cannot do that against this Galway side, because with a forward line like Shane Walsh, Damien Comer, Rob Finnerty, Matthew Tierney, they'll rip them if they leave the defense like that.
Yeah, no, like, I swear you have my notes. You're reading my notes on what I have here. Tyrone in that game, I'm going to say that they shouldn't have lost that game. They shouldn't have. They really shouldn't have. That first half performance for Tyrone, I was doing a watch along for it here, and me and the lads were like, "This game is over. This game is over." There's Dara Canavan and Darren McCurry were unreal. They were pure class. So I think Tyrone definitely can build on that as well. Defensively, I'll go to the Ryan O'Toole goal that you said. You exactly right. Passing it around, last kick of the game. and all Tyrone needed to do was kind of try and shut up shop. A bit of game management there, and exactly Ryan O'Toole came through, and obviously he's got the goal. Went through Sorry, I didn't mean to curse. Went through the defender and through the goal. Two Tyrone lads on the line went straight through the middle of them, and it was great. I was watching. Jesus, it was great to see. But at the same time, you were looking at Tyrone that first half, like, okay, these are now coming into contention to be talked about in the level of the Dubs, Galway, Kerry as well, because it was so good from that first half display. And then obviously Monaghan came out. Now, don't want to take any credit away from Monaghan, because Vinnie Corey obviously had them all riled up then coming out in the second half and went for it as well. So, like you said, they cannot do that if they do go in front against Galway, which they might. I know it's in Pearse Stadium, but Tyrone have had probably 4 weeks as well to gather themselves and look at that. I definitely think they'll look at that Ryan O'Toole goal and look at how they didn't have their game management and how they didn't perform in that second half at times to allow Monaghan back into that game. And I do think they're going to focus on that, and that's going to be that's definitely going to be a big concern, and that they've definitely gone through it and they've had time. It's not like if you win, you kind of have a bad performance, you're on to the next game. You can't think about that last game. But they had, I'm trying to think, probably around 4 weeks ago, if not more, where they can look back on that and try and get that a bit right. So I do think, I know Galway would be favourites for this, but geez, I think this is going to be another really big game and really interesting as well. On the Galway side, Damien Comer obviously had an man-the-match performance against Roscommon, was very good. Shane Walsh has been a small bit quiet, I'd say. I think it's important for him to use this opportunity to stand up and show a bit of leadership a bit more, because obviously he's top class. He's one of the best footballers in the country, but he just hasn't been up there with Galway. But I do think this is going to be a really interesting game. I would be looking forward, another one on GAA Go, and I don't think it's going to be. I think people might be looking at this and thinking, "Oh yeah, Galway are going to win this," but I wouldn't be so sure. I definitely wouldn't be so sure. The fact that Tyrone have had a lot of time to look back at that and going by that first half display that was so good, if they can replicate that against Galway, and they will be aiming to do that, there's definitely no reason why Tyrone can't win this.
Yeah, well, I fully believe, look, if they tidy up at the back, they'll be way more likely to, beat Galway than if they were as open at the back as they were against Monaghan. But just a reminder to anyone watching, we are live. So if you have any inputs on the games, anything that you think is going to happen, or any questions you want to put to us, do put them in the comments and we will answer them here on the stream. But yeah, like for this game, Galway as well would have looked at that Monaghan game and also thought this. Look, we all know this. Derek Hanavan is going to get someone on him. Like, Derek Hanavan is going to have a special man marker for him as well. The other thing that I want to say is, how do you think Tyrone will go about John Daly? Because obviously his role with Galway is crucial. He sits in front of the defence. He very much is a quarterback of sorts. He starts a lot of attacks for Galway. Will they push up and go man to man? Is this the Tyrone team that we've seen? Are they likely to do that and try and push John Daly to mark someone? Or do you reckon that they're more likely to sit back and let him do his thing?
Going by the Monaghan game, well, maybe that's not a good example because they lost it, but I do think I was seeing a lot of, when they lost possession or they kicked the ball wide or stuck the ball over the bar, that when Monaghan had possession, that Tyrone got all their men back and were happy enough to let Monaghan have the ball in the middle of the field. And that's probably what happened in terms of the goal. The last minute goal was that they probably set back too much and were a bit too relaxed and didn't push out. And then Ryan O'Toole obviously got the opportunity to come back in. So it depends if Tyrone want to stick with that game plan that they had, because it seemed to be working against Monaghan in the first half, or if they're exactly what you said you're going to say, is push up and try and put a bit more pressure on that midfield line. Because even there, if you went back, I know I'm thinking of the Ulster final was a similar game in terms of Derry would get the ball, Armagh would get all their men back, then Armagh would get the ball whatever way, and it was very kind of back and forth, and just letting people have the ball around the 45 or the middle of the field. So the other thing is, I don't know if Tyrone can afford to do that, because Galway have some very prolific forwards who might be able to score from a bit further. So it's a hard one to know. Did they try something new? I suppose they might have the opportunity to do so, because it's not knockout football compared to if you're playing an Ulster Championship, you're going to be looking to get the Ulster final. So yeah, it is hard to know. It's hard to know. We won't know because we haven't seen them in 4 weeks, 4+ weeks. So similar to Mayo or similar to Donegal, you don't know where they are going to be as well and what they're going to be at. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, no, true. But one of the things that I feel like we haven't really talked about yet is when we were talking about the Kerry game, the Mayo Kerry game, sorry, and we were discussing Mayo's defeat to Roscommon, and we were saying, listen, Roscommon have been the team to beat at stages of this year. Galway put them to the sword in that semi-final, and Galway beat them. So, and then the reality is as well, Galway's strength and depth this year is way higher than it was last year. You've got players like Tom O'Culhan, Matthew Tierney that came from the under 20s that are now fully engraved into this team. You've got the likes of Rob Finnerty now back in. Shane Walsh due a big game, as you said. Peter Cook is back in. He's looked really good. Ian Burke, 2018 All-Star, he's back in. The strength and depth they have is quite scary, to be honest. Like, I think Galway are better than they were last year, comfortably. I think they're looking more polished than they did this time last year. Look, Kieran Malloy is a big blow. Liam Silk is a big blow. But I feel like they look more like they have more strength and depth. I think Galway are going to win this game. Like, I really do. I think Tyrone will look impressive. I think they'll put up a good score again. I think they'll go for it similar to how they did with the Monaghan game. But I honestly believe that Galway are better than Monaghan. I think if Galway were playing Monaghan, I'd tip Galway to beat Monaghan. So I'm going to tip Galway to beat Tyrone as well. Not by much. I think it will be a very tight game. And I think if Galway played Monaghan, it would be a very tight game as well. But I will tip Galway to win, and I'll tip them to win by about 3 points, similarly to how they beat them in the league.
Yeah, look, Galway, I completely agree with you in terms of their strength and depth now. Galway have brought that level up, and I'd have Galway in the same tier as Dublin and Kerry. That's personally me in terms of their depth and who they can bring off the bench. So look, at the end of the day, I'm going to agree with you with Galway. I think you'd be doing well if you're backing against Galway in Pearse Stadium. And that depth is exactly what you said. I can't really add too much onto it. They're getting a bit scary, and they got to the All-Ireland final last year, and they're looking even better now. So Galway do have their eyes, I think, further on as well.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So then moving to the last game that's going to take place in the All-Ireland group stages. This will happen on the Sunday. It's from group number 3. It's between Sligo and Kildare in Markievicz Park. Now, obviously, the beaten Connacht finalists coming up against Kildare, who are knocked out in the Leinster semi-finals by Dublin. Sligo, of course, promoted as Division 4 champions. Kildare just about avoiding relegation from Division 2. So two sides that have had, again, interesting years. You're talking Kildare, they started off, they just about lost to Dublin and Croke Park, put up a good performance. I genuinely watched that game and thought that they had left that game behind them. Then they had some absolutely woeful performances in the league, like genuinely terrible performances. And you were thinking, okay, what is going on here with Kildare? Then they kind of turned it around. They beat Meath. They had some decent victories. Then they beat Wicklow, don't look too convincing. And then all of a sudden they nearly beat Dublin in the Leinster semi-final and probably should have beaten them, to be honest, again. And whereas Sligo, on the other hand, look, the defeat against Galway was always coming. Everybody knew that they weren't going to beat whoever came out of Roscommon, Mayo and Galway. But it was actually more heavy than I thought it would be. I thought they'd be more in there with Galway. Well, but this game, again, this is one that I feel like, look, Kildare should win this game. I think Kildare should win this game. But given how close Wicklow were with Kildare for long, long periods of that game, I know GA math doesn't always add up, but then given the fact that Sligo beat Wicklow, surely they'll be confident going into this game, because when you look at the other two teams in this group, it's Dublin and Roscommon are the other two teams in this group. So Sligo will know we probably won't beat either of them. So surely they'll be going for this game.
Oh, they'll have to go to this. They'll have to go for this game without a doubt. Like Sligo, they could see themselves in a bit of a kind of a situation they mightn't want to necessarily be in. Maybe it's a flaw of the Provincial Championships or the All-Ireland Series that I would think that Sligo would prefer, definitely, well, as a Division 4 team, well, Division 3 now, to be competing in the Táilteann Cup and have a right go at that.
Mm-hmm.
This one's going to be hard for Sligo. I think Kildare, I said the last time I was on with you a couple of months ago, Kildare are a team that seriously annoy me, not because I'm a Meath man, but the fact is that they have really good players on paper and individual players, but they're as you said, they're a bit all over the place, and it's really hard to know what you're going to get with them. Like Sligo, yeah, look, they bet New York in the semi-final and we're comfortable enough against them. And then obviously in Galway, I know it's in Markievicz Park, but it's going to be very hard to see against Kildare here. I know Sligo definitely will be aiming for it. They have to. They're in the All Ireland series now. They're in a group with the other ones are Dublin and Roscommon, like you said. So this is what they have to target. They have to go for it without a doubt. It's in Sligo as well. They definitely will enjoy the fact that they get the home advantage on the team that they would be looking most likely to beat. Not most likely, but kind of the most one that they'd have a chance of beating, I suppose, in the group. So I kind of it can be horrible now for Sligo. All of a sudden they lose to Kildare and they have to play Dublin and Roscommon, and that's kind of it. Because if you like for Kildare, all they need to do really is win one game and they're in the All Ireland series in the prelim at least. So Sligo definitely will be going first. It's kind of hard what to say what Kildare will be like. I know you said they struggle against Wicklow, but I think they will feel like they left that game behind against Dublin in the semi-final as well. You know, they to come close to Dublin as a Leinster team. That's your aim is to at least compete with Dublin, and anything on top of that I think is a plus. So I think Kildare will be in a better shape after that performance against Dublin, and I think they will bring them a bit more confidence. Maybe that's something they were lacking, and that's why they kind of seemed a bit all over the place. So yeah, I do think Kildare is going to win this. I do feel a bit bad for Sligo. I do think I would prefer to see them in the Táilteann Cup, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the fans will tell you, like Sligo, I know are in a good place. The under-20s losing actually to Kildare in the under-20 final, and there's a lot of buzz around Sligo. But it might be maybe a year or two too soon on where they want to be. I do think that's the aim. I do think Sligo can get that. They have this good young talent coming through, but I think it's just coming a bit too quickly. I think they probably would have preferred to get a year in Táilteann Cup and get maybe some of those under-20s a senior championship debut in kind of a competition that against weaker teams. But this is where they're at, and they're going to have to just deal with it and have a give Kildare a good go.
Well, yeah, like I completely agree with what you said. Like the teams that Sligo beat to get here, Sligo beat London and New York to qualify for the All-Ireland Championship. So like they haven't exactly gone through any giants to get here. Look, they're Division 4 champions, deservingly so, but the best team that Sligo have beaten this year is Wicklow. That's the best team that Sligo have beaten this year. And that's the team that, look, Kildare did pull away from in the end and get the victory against. Look, Kildare should win this game. That's just Kildare should win this game, and I am going to go for them to win this game, because if they want to have any chance of beating competing with a Dublin and a Roscommon, they need to win this game, because Dublin and Roscommon will beat both of these teams in my opinion. Although I can't wait to see Kildare go up against Dublin again, especially given the comments after the last game. That game should have a fair bit of bite to it. But yeah, look, I'm going for Kildare to win this game. I'm going to go for them to win it by about 4 points. I don't think they'll do it in a hugely impressive fashion, but I think they'll get over the line by about 4 points.
Yeah, I probably agree with you. Like Sligo's competition, it's definitely a level up. I know Kildare aren't world beaters all the same, but I do think Kildare. I hope Kildare. Well, not that I hope, but just maybe a slight of cockiness maybe from Kildare possibly coming into this and thinking, oh yeah, we'll win this and we'll get into the prelims. That could catch them on the hop. But yeah, I don't think so either. That's probably the one thing that might happen, but I wouldn't give it much of a chance. So I agree with you. I probably would be a bit more comfortable. I probably would say 6 or 7 points actually on the Kildare side, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's closer either.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. Look, and I completely agree with your point earlier as well. I think both of these teams will be better, way better, if you skip forward 5 years when those under-20s from both counties get into the senior side. So we're going to move on to the Táilteann Cup. We're going to go group by group, starting with Group 1. And the two games that are on the weekend are London versus Cavan in McGovern Park in Ruislip, and then Laois versus Offaly in O'Moore Park. That's throwing in at 7 o'clock. So these two games, obviously last week saw victories for Cavan over Laois and Offaly over London. To be honest, the Offaly-London game was over before it even began. By the time London got their first point, Offaly had 1-8 on the board and 30 minutes had passed. For Cavan, a sticky first 20 minutes where Evan O'Carroll obviously got that goal for Laois, but then they came back and really dominated the game after that. But apart from that, going into these games, I expect Cavan to beat London. The Laois Offaly one is a little bit harder to call.
Yeah, Laois would be disappointed, really disappointed, I'd say, not getting out of Division 4. I'd say that was massive for the county because they were the hot favourites to get out of Division 4. And I actually, what was it? I have it here, 220 to 114 when they lost to Cavan. And they're definitely not a bad side, Laois. Offaly going well, bet Meath obviously in the Leinster quarter final. Had a bit of competition with Louth. So I still would tip Offaly. It is going to be a local derby, and I think I don't think it's going to be an easy one for Offaly. I definitely don't, because Laois are I think Laois are a better team than how they have been at the moment. So yeah, I probably still would go with Offaly. I definitely would still go with Offaly. Offaly are looking a lot better. I think definitely they're looking to bring that after beating Meath into the Táilteann Cup, and I would have Offaly would be up there in the top maybe 4 or 5 teams in the Táilteann Cup who would have a chance of winning it. Laois disappointed losing to Cavan, I'd say, but they're it's a tough group. I'm not going to lie, it's a tough group for Laois, and I'm just trying to think: is the Táilteann Cup only 2 teams? It's not like the All Ireland round robin where you have 3 teams.
Yeah,
I think is it 2. So they will be looking to try and, after losing to Cavan, to beat Offaly and try and do one over on them. But I don't think Offaly will let that happen, and I think they will win. In terms of Cavan and London, I agree with you. London haven't won a game this year. Cavan, one of the favourites to win the Táilteann Cup. I don't really think there's going to be much of a contest there, with trying to give respect to London. But I think that's just how it's going to go.
Yeah, for me, Cavan will beat London and Offaly will beat Laois. That's what I'm predicting will happen in those games. Moving on then to Group 2, and these ones I think are a little bit more straightforward. Waterford versus Meath in Fraher Field. That has to be a victory for Meath. And Tipperary versus Down in Semple Stadium. That has to be a victory for Down. Would you disagree with any of them?
No, Meath and Down. It's a tough group for Tip and Waterford. Meath were... I was keeping up to date on Twitter and listening to the radio, and Meath were actually losing Tipperary at the very start of the game by a few points, maybe like 3 or 4 points to no score or a point. And I was like, oh, Jesus, here we go again. But obviously Meath overcome Tipperary. Tipperary are that other team that, along with London, there's only the 2 teams that haven't won a game this year, and Tipperary being that other team. So wow. Down also, I'm pretty sure I heard that. So Meath looking to continue after beating Tipperary against Waterford, who I know Waterford won their first game in the league. It was the first time they won a game in nearly 2 years. So I don't think this is going to be a contest for Meath. Down, I think I in my head, Down for me, I know you said to me before the stream that Cavan is your pick for the Táilteann Cup. For me, it's actually Down. And I don't think there's going to be any not fight from Tipperary, but I think Down are going to walk Tipperary as well. So there's not really too much else to say. I think it's going to be, Meath and Down will be interesting in the Táilteann Cup. That'll be a heavy hitter one. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, that will be one that will really show where both counties are at, in my opinion, because the quality of that game, not only the results, but the quality of that game will show where they're both at, in my opinion. If it's a high scoring game where both sets of forwards look sharp and the midfielders look sharp, we'll know that we have 2 contenders there. Because Meath, for me, are also dark horses, and it is as in, like, I think they have the players to win the Táilteann Cup. It's just whether or not they can get their act together. As well as that, look, Tipperary, it's harsh on them because it's like there's so many good players from Tipperary who are not playing for Tipperary. Like myself and Luke did out this thing at the start of every year where we write down in a Google Doc, we write down, like, if everything was there, if every player was back from Australia, back from traveling, wasn't injured, who would be each county's best starting 15. If every club player was playing for the county. So, for example, Mayo would have Oisin Mullen straight back in the team, like, etc., etc. Do you know how many players Tipperary had from the starting 15 that we chose for them?
Oh, I'd say, 3 or 4?
3.
As in, yeah.
3. And then Connor Sweeney got injured immediately.
Yeah, that was a big blow for them as well.
Connor Sweeney, Sean O'Connor, and Jimmy Feehan. And the rest of them are all gone. This is what I mean. No Michael Quinlivan, no Jason Lonergan, no Robbie Kiley retired as well. Like, Stephen O'Brien's injured. Like, so many lads that would start for Tipperary aren't there. And it's just like, that's why it's such a... Colin O'Riordan as well, another one that would walk in. Like, Tipperary would have such a better team if they had all those lads there. But the Tipperary that will show up against Down should beat them, and I think they will. Moving then to Group 3, we have 2 more games here as well. Carlow versus Limerick at Dr. Cullen Park, and then Longford versus Wicklow in Pearse Park. And look, starting with this game, Carlow-Limerick, 2 victorious teams. Limerick getting their first victory, obviously, of 2023 over Longford, even though Longford got that late injury time goal, and even though Paddy Christie skipped out on a christening or communion, I think it was, to make the game. But then on the flip side, obviously, as well, Carlow surprising victors over Wicklow. That's a big game now.
Yeah. Jesus, I was very surprised seeing Carlow win by a point against Wicklow, and it was in Ockham as well.
1 point.
Yeah. Like, it's great to see from Carlow. I'm not going to lie at all. In terms of Limerick, from Limerick's side, they won by what I'm looking at here, a goal against Longford. Limerick, I think Limerick, you're on about Meath being dark horses. I do think Limerick actually are a dark horse in the Táilteann Cup. Getting relegated into Division 3. Now they drew against Meath. Now I don't know, maybe if that was just Meath just being a bit of a disaster, possibly. But Limerick will be looking like targeting the Táilteann Cup to go far in it. Now I don't think they'll win it, but they'll be looking to go far in it. For Carlow obviously, in form all of a sudden, beating Wicklow, if they feel like they can compete against Limerick, and I'm sure there'll be no reason why they wouldn't feel like they can compete against Limerick, to try and get a win over here or get some sort of result over and get into the next stages. Because for Carlow, they wouldn't be a side you would see getting out of this group or going far in the Táilteann Cup, but all of a sudden they're in with a shout after beating Wicklow in Aughrim as well. So I do think it's going to be interesting. I still do back Limerick, but I think Carlow will be looking to at least compete here, and if they can compete with a team who I think are the dark horses, then that will be something they can push forward on and go on. Yeah,
without doubt. So who are we feeling victorious out of those games?
Oh, it's so it's Limerick to beat Carlow, and it's Longford and Wicklow. You said that one's a bit more tougher, I think. Actually, that one's a very tough one. Both of them losing, but both of them, that's a very tough group now that I look at it again, because now that Carlow's after beating Wicklow, like, Wicklow will still want to get up, Longford would still want to get out of there as well. I probably would go the Limerick. Longford only beat. Where is it? Do you know? Is it's in Longford? Is it, or is it neutral?
It's in Pearse Park in Longford.
Okay, then I probably will just sneak Longford. Then just the fact that they get the home.
I honestly think Longford,
just about.
Yeah, they're due a win. They're due a big game.
Yeah,
and look,
could be a draw either. Actually, yeah, I might go for a draw. I'll go for a draw. Why not?
Well, this is a big here. The McGivneys, Darren Gallagher, and Seán Brady have all left since Paddy Christie started with Longford. So none of those guys will be involved in this game, and that's absolutely huge.
Yeah,
that's absolutely huge.
Yeah.
Darren Gallagher is a fantastic footballer on his own, and the McGivneys as well, crucial. Seán Brady, I think, was their best inside forward.
Yeah. When you're after saying that now, I might change to Wicklow, but
I'll probably go. Yeah, I probably will change to Wicklow. That's how much those players like.
Yeah.
Because on top of that, you look at Wicklow in Division 4 as well. When they really needed a victory, they pulled out big away wins against Laois when they really needed that one. And I think it was against Leitrim as well. They scored the last 6 points of that game to get themselves promoted. I feel like that could be hugely significant.
Yeah.
Darren Gallagher is injured at the moment, but he won't. That's what I mean. Missing him is so important.
Yeah. And Wicklow will definitely be kicking themselves losing to Carlow as well. That's the other thing, like by a point. So I think Wicklow will try and get their campaign back on track, and Oisin McConville definitely will be wanting them to come back to Wicklow with a result from Longford. Yeah. So maybe we might change to Wicklow for this one, I think.
So Limerick and Wicklow to be the victors. Obviously, Kevin Quinn wasn't playing the last game against Carlow. We wonder, will he be back for this game? Maybe we'll change our minds again. But we'll move on to group number 4. Obviously, we're going to start with 2 teams that got better results in the first game than I thought they would. Wexford versus Antrim and Wexford Park. They got better results against both Leitrim and Fermanagh, who face off now in Park Sean McDermott. But obviously, we're going to start with the Wexford Antrim game in Wexford Park. Now, obviously, these are absolutely huge. These are absolutely huge. It says that Wexford, I wasn't expecting them to get a result against Fermanagh. I have to be 100% honest. I thought there was no way they were going to get a victory a result against Fermanagh. And they fought back, got the penalty, yes, questionable, but they still fought back. And then Dara Brooks nailed that free to get them, the draw. And now what are you thinking? Hosting Antrim, a side who beat Leitrim by 318 to 212.
This group is actually mad. It really is. I would agree with you. I thought Fermanagh after getting promoted into Division 2, looking to be the champ, looking to win the Táilteann Cup is definitely an aim for them. And then to play Wexford, who have had a fairly poor, in Division 4, very, very poor kind of league campaign, and have not seemed to be going really much anywhere. But to get a result against Fermanagh and get a draw is huge, and it really does open this up. And then on the other side, you look at Antrim hammering. Well, what was it? 9 points against Leitrim. I personally ranked Leitrim a bit higher than that. Now I know Antrim, Andy McEndy has been doing well. Keeping Antrim up in Division 3 was massive for Antrim. Mm-hmm. I'm not getting that wrong. I'm pretty sure they did stay up, didn't they? Yeah, they did. Okay, just to make sure before I start going on about it. But to keep them up, and now after beating Leitrim so well, it's
and that's a Leitrim side that beat them last year. So they have definitely come on leaps and bounds.
So I probably would for the Antrim and Wexford game, even though Wexford got that draw. I think Antrim are. If you think Wexford are on a bit of kind of an upward trajectory, Antrim I think are even up higher in that sense, and beating Leitrim like that. So I do think Antrim will beat Wexford, but I could be wrong because I definitely thought Fermanagh would walk over Wexford, no bother, and it also being in Brewster Park in Fermanagh that it would happen, but it hasn't. So I think Antrim will still take over Wexford. In terms of the Fermanagh Leitrim game, this is going to be massive as well. This is huge because both of them have not gotten the result or the starter that they may have wanted, especially on Fermanagh side. I do think, obviously, I'm still going to have to back Fermanagh on that fact. The fact that Leitrim got bet so handy by Antrim, you do expect anything but Fermanagh win here. I think is going to be a massive shock as well. But it could be close. I think Leitrim will want to bounce back after that performance against Antrim. But it's a really interesting group. I looking at this now, I would say that group is the most interesting one from the Táilteann Cup, because any team probably still would like their chances of getting out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for me, Fermanagh to beat Leitrim, I'm sorry, I just think Fermanagh need a result and they're going to go and get it. And Antrim to beat Wexford, because Wexford are such a strange team in that, whenever you're writing them off, they tend to pull a result out. And whenever everybody's expecting them to perform, they don't turn up. So I feel like everybody will be expecting them to put in a good performance against Antrim in this game. And Antrim, I think, will turn up and win in a bit of a high-scoring game. And just before we wrap up, we have a couple more comments here. Stay with Longford, give us some hope. Obviously, against, it depends. Missing those players is absolutely huge that those lads aren't going to be playing. And one more comment in here. Is there a benefit to finishing top of your group for the Sam Maguire? So I'll throw that one over to you, Sean.
Yeah. A lot of the videos I've made was explaining how this All Ireland series is taking place and kind of the format of it. So if you were to, there's basically you have your 4 groups of 4. If you come top, you automatically get into an All Ireland quarter final. If you come second or third, you go into a prelim. So I assume it's the second place to play a third place from a different group. So it does be a benefit because you get that extra week because it's such a packed schedule. So I think that extra week for the team finishing top is a massive advantage come the All Ireland time when you're preparing for an All Ireland quarter final. So there is a difference, and I think teams will be targeting that. The likes of your Kerrys or your Galways will want to be finishing top of the group so that they have that extra week break to compared to, because some teams are going to be playing in a second versus third that are going to be very tough. They're not going to be easy. There's some tough groups in there, and we're definitely going to have some tough clashes in that prelim stage. So teams will be looking to avoid that prelim stage and topping their group and keeping that momentum.
The second ranked team has home advantage. We're getting in here as well. And then a response from the comment. There we go. So we've explained it as clear as mud. But
not easy, though. It's not easy. It's not easy.
Oh, no. And trust me, I don't know why they keep introducing very, very complex different formats and stuff like that. But no, I feel like finishing top of the group definitely would be a benefit for teams to get that extra week break. And that's why the Kerry Mayo game is going to be such a good one to watch, because they're both going to want to finish top of that group. Make no mistake about it. Second round team getting home advantage, that definitely, again, that obviously is a plus for them. So they will want to finish there. But before we wrap it up, Sean, player of the weekend and maybe a cheeky bet of the weekend, underdog of the weekend, what would you go for?
The underdog of the weekend.
What result would you be thinking? An outside, a cheeky little bet potentially on something that might be a bit of a surprise, and then player of the weekend as well.
I know I said Offaly to beat Laois, but maybe an underdog.
We have a suggestion here: possibly Longford to beat Wicklow.
But I don't think that was a massive underdog. Kind of, you're trying to think of an underdog team.
Either of them could win that.
Yeah, exactly. So I probably would go with the Laois and Offaly one. Possibly, you do expect Offaly to win, but there isn't anything saying that Laois couldn't beat them there. Probably not Tyrone and well, you could say Tyrone possibly as well if you're looking at the massive underdogs. I think if people say they are massive underdogs, I would give them more of a chance, but I do think Galway are going to win that one. In terms of the player, I'm trying to think here as well. I'm probably going to go with Paddy Clifford. I think to continue his form and kind of to be that focal point for Kerry. He probably would be my bet for him. Well, actually, a bet is another question. The other bet, oh Jesus, I don't know how you could do. Maybe a Ryan O'Donoghue first goal scorer. Mayo straight out of the blocks, get a goal in the first few minutes of the game. Maybe a Mayo. Carr. Yeah, James Carr. You know, a Mayo forward for the first goal scorer possibly could be a nice little bet, because I think they will be coming right out of the blocks and looking to get a goal very soon.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm going to agree with Lily May here for my bet, potential like a cheeky one for the weekend. Mayo to beat Kerry. I think that could definitely be a shout, because Mayo are going to be gunning for that one. Obviously, funny comment here. Longford will pass out on a badger on a bypass. We are built different. Another last little question we have in here. Why don't they just do round robins for the provincials like the hurling instead of having all these extra boring games? Good question. Personally, I think if they were to do round robins for the provincials, the Leinster Championship would be an absolute massacre if you had Dublin going around playing everybody. Similarly with Munster, if you made Kerry play against everybody, I feel like it would be a tough watch for some of those games. So I feel like that's why I feel like it works in the hurling, because the counties are so well matched, particularly in Munster. But I feel like in terms of the Gaelic football, I feel like it wouldn't work to the same level. So I feel like that's why we're going in there. I don't know. Do you agree with that, Sean?
Yeah, especially when when proposal B, this was a proposal maybe 2 years ago. It's not this proposal, but it was before this one, as in what is in place now. The Leinster chair or the head of the Leinster Council came on off the ball, and he was saying, "Oh, provincial." He was blue in the face on about the provincial championship and how good they are and so on. And he was saying, "Oh, provincial championships should be able to dictate how they're ran." So he was like, "What I want to do is have a round robin for the weaker teams." This is at the point where he says, and have so Dublin, Meath, Westmeath, and Kildare would all automatically get into a quarter final and play from this round robin with your Longford and your Wicklow's and your Wexford. And to me, it seems like a waste of time. It's a waste of people playing games. There's not going to be any competition. Whatever way you're going to do it now, like whatever way you're going to do the Leinster provincial championship, I can't see it being competitive really at all, unless you want to get rid of Dublin out of it. That's the only way it's going to be competitive, no matter what format. And you could say the same for the Munster championship as well. You could try and think about of having it seeded in a sense where I think maybe especially Connacht, I think would definitely maybe benefit from that, because you've seen Galway, Mayo, Roscommon all on the same side. All your good games were straight away, and you then had that kind of dull Connacht final. And then you also have Sligo, who probably don't want to be in the Connacht final. Well, not that they want to be in the Connacht final. They definitely will want to be in the Connacht final. But the result of being in the Connacht final and having to go into the All-Ireland series, like even if New York was to get into the Connacht final and bet Sligo or Leitrim, whichever team it was going to be, probably wouldn't be enjoying that right now, I'd say. So there probably is some things that can be looked on. I think that there has to be improvement in that sense, because if not, then the provincial finals there could be a lot more people saying, let's just get rid of them. If you look at it, if this All-Ireland series goes well, they're like, well, what's the point of having this provincial? So there's definitely conversation there to be had. So I definitely do think things need to be done to avoid what you've seen on the Connacht championship this way. Like imagine that Galway and Mayo in a Connacht final, or Roscommon, like one of those three teams or two of those three teams against each other in Connacht final. It would have made it so much more interesting than against Sligo. Like, all due respect to Sligo, but it was a washout as well. So there is something that needs to be done.
Yeah, no, without doubt. We have more comments in here. So Dublin and Kerry would have to go to weaker counties grounds at least. I mean, that's about the round robin ones. The reality is that look at the Laois game. Dublin went down there and still annihilated Laois. Like, it wouldn't make a difference whether it was played in Croke Park or played in any ground. Like, Dublin would destroy most teams in Leinster. Same with Kerry in the Munster. Another comment here. It's pure madness playing out the entire provincial championships and then having a round robin to only eliminate 4 teams. Could not agree more. Like that, it's just bizarre that they're talking about having a tight schedule and then they're throwing in round robins. Like, come on, like, you're talking about having a tight schedule, no time for replays, but yet we're doing, round robin systems.
I think it's 28 games to knock out 4 teams.
Oh, big time. And then there should be a third tier competition for the weakest teams in the country. Thank you, Lily May, because go back to January, myself and the GAA Statsman recorded a video here on Play on GAA. We talked about the changes that the GAA should make, and we talked about the calendar. We talked about the GAA championship structure. We said there should be a senior championship, intermediate championship, and junior championship, just like there is in the LGFA. And I don't know why that hasn't been implemented to some level in the GAA. It's like with the hurling, the Christie Ring, the John McDonough, and then the Liam McCarthy. You have teams playing against each other that are of a similar level and the games are more competitive. That's how I think it should be run. Every team would have the best chance of keeping hold of the best players because they can realistically win something every year. Like, have it so that there shouldn't be like if you win this game, you're into the top competition. If you lose this game, you're going into the Táilteann Cup, basically, because then nobody wants to be in the cup that realistically they can win, if you get what I mean. Like, that's, you're talking about Sligo. Like, Sligo would have a better chance of winning the Táilteann Cup than they do of winning the All-Ireland, things like that.
Yeah, like, if you think about it, maybe, well, at this year, I think it's one of the most open All-Ireland series there has been in years. But realistically, there's probably only maybe 8 to 10 teams that, if you want to think about it, that can properly compete, and possibly 10 if you want to do 10, 10, 12 or whatever, or 12, whatever the sense. But by doing that, it would also make the Táilteann Cup a bit more competitive, because you'd have the teams that you have in now, say, and then you might have like a Kildare, who are the other teams? Clare and throw Sligo and put a bit more competition for the Táilteann Cup as well. And then you have the likes of your Wexfords, your Londons, your Longfords, possibly your Wicklow's, and so on, who then have a good chance of getting a third if you want to have a junior competition as well. I think overall it would make it for a bit more competition involved with it. And to be fair, I probably see it going the right way. I think this could be seen. Some people are calling this All-Ireland series a Trojan horse for the provincial, that people are going to see how good this All-Ireland series is going to be. And people are going to be like, well, why are we doing the provincial championships? So look, the GAA, it's not easy to get to change around these things. It's taken years and years to do this. And I feel it's a step in the right direction. I still don't think it's perfect. I agree with that. I was talking to Seán Kelly, the former president of the GAA, and he was talking to me about how he's like, I don't know why they have 3 teams out of 4 getting out of this group. If you look at the Champions League or any kind of this Champions League format, if there's 4 teams of 4, you pick the top 2 and all this. There are things, but look, it's a place to start. Is the way I see it. It's somewhere to start. At least we're doing something new. At least the Táilteann Cup came in last year, 2 years ago, whatever it was now. At least now we have a round robin series. At least we have where the league is linked and to give the league more meaning. But there are definitely things that can be changed, and I hope there will be things that will be changed. But we're a step in the right direction, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. All this as well. So, commenting here from Denise, up Mayo, Owen McLaughlin starts or comes on, he will disturb David Clifford's game plan. It'd be very interesting to see how Mayo do plan for David Clifford. And then as well here, the GAA need to bring back September All-Irelands. It's not fair on the players. Look, I do genuinely think that the calendar is extremely condensed. They should try and lengthen out the time between the games. But I do think as well, given that a lot of these players do immediately go back and play with their clubs, I still think having the finals in late July, giving them a break in August, and then starting the club championship in September, for me would be the best way to do it. Because look, have the championships from May to the very end of July, maybe first week of August, with the senior, intermediate, junior structure, and then the club championship kicking off in September. That's how I said I would do it personally. And honestly, very, very hot take, but I just scrap the league and move the provincial championships into there and do how the LGFA do it, where you have your senior, intermediate, and junior Leinster championships and things like that, and then straight into your actual normal championships. It's a very hot take, I know, but for me, the leagues are just completely solidifying that you can only play against teams of a certain standard in that way. And I would rather see the competitiveness of the league games played in the championship.
Yeah. Look, I would probably look, if you had to stick on the provincial, if you couldn't get rid of the provincial championships, then I would agree with you. My preference would be to possibly scrap the provincial. Yeah, but look, that's me being a me person and kind of just fed up with it. I know it's very touchy subject. There's a lot of people that say, Jesus, it's pure dung. But then there's people saying, oh no, I want to keep it and so on. And to be fair, I asked this to Seán Kelly again. He said, because I'd feel kind of just sick of it at the moment. And he says, if you ask players on if they look back when they finish their career and if they have a provincial medal, we're not seeing maybe Tipperary or Cavan, you see, that's the highlight of their GAA career. So I feel it's very hard to know. It's very hard to know. I don't know. 3 out of 4 provincial finals were not good. Simple as. They weren't good at all. And you think, okay, the Ulster is very good, but do you base a whole championship around what one, just Ulster, even though the rest of the counties maybe suffering a small bit, or even at least the Munster and Leinster are anyway. So it's hard to know. It really is hard to know what to do. It's very hard to get things through the GAA. I feel there's a lot of maybe old souls that don't like change. And, I know they did change. It used to be 66% to get these motions through. And it got changed to having to be 60% as the majority, which I think is how this came in now, is that it changed to 60 and not 66, which was a bit more harder to get. So look, it's interesting. I think the best way to do it now is see how we go with this All-Ireland series. and for it to be important for changes to be allowed, to be an open mind, not be like, okay, this is what we're going to do and we're going to stick with it. Like if you had some dead rubbers and all this, and then they say, okay, next year we're going to have 2 teams instead of 3 teams getting through, or we're going to try and change the calendar and maybe add an extra 2 weeks, and then you have the question about the college tournaments and so on. So I think it's hard to get things to change in the GAA. So I think things need to be open when it is a test. It's the first year of it, so it is a test to see how it goes. But I think it's important to not be like, okay, stick with this for another 6 or 7 years and be like, okay, oh yeah, we should have changed this at the very start,
Yeah, and just the last points that we have here, they should just go back to the old calendar and force county teams to release players to clubs. If someone gets injured, then they get injured. Club finals still played in October, even with the split. Yeah, like club county finals are still played like November-ish time. Like the Dublin finals are played November-ish time, and then they played the club games. Look, for me personally, if you want to see players getting overworked, go to the start of the year when the likes of Tom O'Callaghan, Rob Finnerty were playing for their club, their college, and their county in the league, which is absolutely like Conor Glass was finished playing with Waddy Glen for about 10 minutes, and he was already starting for Derry against Limerick. And then last comment here from Denise. I was listening to GAA Fan TV. Shout out, of course, to Aaron, the man himself. And some mad fella said Kerry would win by at least 10 to 12 points. He's not well in the head. I wonder who that is about. I'll have to go over and check on Aaron's podcast who said Kerry would win by 10 or 12 points. I don't agree with that. I think, obviously, I've picked Mayo to win. So maybe that fella thinks that I'm not well in the head. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for giving us your time today. Thank you so much for tuning into this live stream. We really, really appreciate it. My thanks as well to Seán Ryan for coming on here on the podcast with me as our guest. Thank you again, Seán.
Cheers, Séamus. Yeah, enjoy the last was hour and 15.
Yeah.
A bit of shy talk is enjoyable as well. Thanks for having me on anyway.
Not a bother. And thank you to the viewers for watching. Until the next one, guys, take care.